Now, in Act 4, we often have a beginning, we often have two storylines together, the A and the D. This is often true, and it's true in this story. The A storyline, remember, is will Walt become a badass drug dealer? And look at that. When we watch him in Act 4, he's hustling equipment out of his high school. He's become a thief. Beakers, synthetic stuff, everything. Now we also are watching the D story because Jesse is reluctantly becoming the sorcerer's apprentice, right? That's exactly the relationship they're going to have for the next 7 years. Jesse and Walter are becoming co-conspirators. We're also seeing Walt's genius. Remember, superpowers being misused at the beginning of the show, but he's beginning to use it. He's beginning to use his chemical genius again. We're going to make a product that is synthetically pure. It's going to be perfect. And Jesse's like, nah, I want to make chili. Chili pea is my trademark. We're going to put chili in it. We are going to make a synthetic product that is perfect, Jesse. Shut up. So this reluctant relationship between them is going to go on for 7 years. The D storyline, where Walt and Jesse become colleagues, is going to resonate through the entire 7 years. They'll fall apart, they'll come back together, but at the very last episode of this show, they are still co-conspirators, right to the end. The other thing you're going to see in Act 4 is this, the most amazing use of the suspense tools you've ever seen. Good news, bad news, ticking clocks, raising stakes. They are used brilliantly by Gilligan. It's part of the reason some people can't watch this show for more than 10 minutes. They have to literally turn it off and then cool down and watch it again. Because the suspense is agonizingly good. And you're going to see all that in Act 4. The other thing you're going to see in Act 4 is that, remember, in a movie there is what I call a BMOC, the 4 times in a movie when the hero is asked to change. In a television show, the hero is asked to change too. But he doesn't much. And since there's 5 acts, there's a BMMOC. For more information on this structure, go to University of Story, look at my Foundations lecture, my TV lecture. This is a pattern that great television shows have. In Act 4, you're going to see both the O point, the obstacle point, the moment when it looks like all is lost, and you're also going to see the climax of the television show where the hero wins. Both of these points are present in one act. That's the brilliance of using a structure of the ABCDE storyline. I know it sounds prissy and mathematical, but it's actually a beautiful way to tell an original story and make it entertaining. You can tell any story you want. You can tell a story about 2 skunks, 2 bisexual skunks. It doesn't matter if you use these tools. Actually, I don't think a bisexual skunk story would work that well, but all right. So anyway, they get a used Winnebago with all the money that Walter has in the world. But when Walter gets out of the credit union with the cash and gives it to Jesse, Jesse says to him, hey, listen, I got to know, just for my own, because what you do affects me. What you do affects me. Have you just gone nuts? It doesn't compute. Why does a guy, I don't know, 60 years old, well, it says 50, how does a 6-year-old guy suddenly just break bad? I mean, have you gone crazy? This affects me. And Walter finally says the critical thing about his core wound. Remember, his core wound is that I'm powerless. That's his core wound. And he says to Jesse the truth right here. He says, I am alive. He's finally feeling powerful. That's the critical thing to realize about Walter. It is also his unsolvable dilemma. Remember, we talked about what that was at the beginning of this lecture. His unsolvable dilemma is that he wants to take care of his family, but the way he's doing it is destroying his family. That is unresolvable. It will never be resolved, not for 7 years. So Jesse goes and gets the Winnebago. We're still in Act 4. They drive out to the desert, and they begin to make this meth. Now, most stories have what I call speed and weed. In a romantic comedy, the weed is real estate and alpha males and building shoe closets and having a guy who can communicate and be sensitive as well as powerful and strong. It's the pleasure you get from a story. In this story, because the hook is how bad will Walter go, and the premise is he's going to make drugs, the weed and speed literally is weed and speed. As they make this drug, the music mounts. Watch this scene, guys. You'll get caught up in it. It's the sorcerer and his assistant as they cook this perfect meth. And the music swells. And Jesse screws up and Walter saves him. And at the end there is a pan of beautiful sky blue methamphetamine that is the purest meth ever made in the world. And when it's finished, Jesse looks at it and says, "You're the goddamn Iron Chef. You're amazing." And Walter says, "It's just basic chemistry, but thank you, Jesse." He is using his genius for chemistry, and he is becoming a powerful guy. Still in Act 4, Walter says to Jesse, "How do we sell this?" And Jesse says, "I know just the guy to take it to." And this is where the E-plot kicks in. Because the guy who was busted in the second act, Emilio and Crazy 8, we cut to Jesse walking up to their house, a barking dog that's attacking a dummy, and we start to get danger rising. Because when Jesse tries to sell this drug to Crazy 8 says, "Hey, where'd you get this? I know your little dumbass didn't cook it. Where'd you get this? Take me to this guy." We're approaching the all is lost moment of the show. Because as their lowrider, neon yellow gangster car pulls up to the Winnebago where Walter is standing in his underwear with nobody for miles, the two gangsters pull their guns and they prepare to kill Walter and Jesse. That is the low point for Walter. Now remember, what is his superpower? How are we going to see it? And remember what replaces character change in television? Surprise. Because as they prepare to kill them both, ticking clocks, guns, Walter says, "Wait a minute. I'll teach you my recipe. You let us live, and I'll teach you how to cook." And the villains say, "Okay." Now Walter hasn't been saved. It's only a temporary reprieve. But as he goes into the RV with both guys' guns pointed at his head, ticking clocks, when the guns go off, the music begins to give us a literal ticking clock sound. Tick, tock, tick, tock. And as we watch Walter create more methamphetamine, we see him pick up a bottle that we've been explained is poison if it's subjected to heat. And as the clocks tick, and one of the villains throws a cigarette out the window, that's another ticking clock. We have 4 simultaneous ticking clocks in the scene. Watch it, it's fabulous. Suddenly Walter throws the red phosphorus into the fire, boom, and a poison blows up in a cloud, and the two gangsters begin to die. Walter jumps out of the RV, slams the door behind him. Good news, bad news. They fire through the door, but then they die. Walt is winning. The A storyline, will become a badass drug dealer? Yes. Will Jesse and him work together? Yes. E storyline, will Walt and Jesse win over Crazy 8 and Emilio? Yes. But it could end here, but it doesn't. Why? Because we need more tension and suspense. Suddenly that cigarette that was thrown out the window catches fire and the entire place starts to burn. Walt has to escape. He gets in the RV. As the music swells, he and Jesse roll through the desert with those two bodies in the back. And guess what? We're back at the cold open. Remember with the RV running through the desert? Walt stopping, getting out. The two bodies in the back, he makes the video confession. He goes to the road, he's got the gun pointed, and now that's where we are. And now we see that siren ticking clock get louder and louder. The cops are coming. Walt's going to lose. Everything's over for him. Then good news. That turns out not to be cops, but the firemen, and they don't care about Walt at all. They go by, flipping his underwear up and down, and he, through sheer amazing genius and luck, has won. The firemen leave. They've killed the two guys. Walt has answered the A storyline question, will you be a badass drug dealer? Hell yes, and I've become a murderer too. And then he vomits, because remember, he's still a weak guy. So in our resolution, we finally wrap up the final storyline, which is, will Walt take care of his family? We see him laundering, literally, the money that he's made. He's taking care of his family financially. And this time, when he and Skylar go to have sex, she suddenly gasps, because, Walter, is that you? He can suddenly be a man there too. So the story ends with this B storyline answered yes, with the A storyline answered yes, with the C storyline answered yes, every storyline answered yes. Walt has become a badass drug dealer and a murderer, and we're going to watch him go further with that for the next 7 years. This is brilliant television because we've set up a hook that we want to watch another 100 episodes to see. And it's a classic, classic thriller. And guys, television is thirsty for thrillers. There are 400 scripted stories now who need stories. Please use the tools I've given you tonight, not only in thrillers, but for every television genre because they work across the board.